Angel. Okay, go live. Hi, everybody. Just try to connect Olivia. Hi.
Hello.
You know that this is just really an excuse so that I can hang out with you, right?
I know, right? Come online, talk a little bit.
Yes, especially with the lockdown situation right now in Toronto.
I know.
Yeah. All right. So, yay, we have people joining us. Hi, everybody. All right. So, just a little intro. Couple weeks back, I did a live and was completely nervous. So, I figured the more I get myself in this uncomfortableness, the more it'll become comfortable. So, I decided to do like weekly things, and I wanted to start with Wisdom Wednesday. And so, I asked Olivia to join me today because I think you are full of wisdom and you have so much to share, and I love what you do, just bringing the light into the world and with all your tools and everything. So how me and Olivia met actually was through a friend who told me I had to go to her hair appointment to meet this girl. I just had to meet this girl. Don't really know why she felt that, but it was true. And I honestly think everything happens for a reason, and people come into your life and connect you with others. And like, that's just flow. It just happens. Everything came into alignment exactly at the time I needed it. And it was about 3 years ago, I think now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's crazy because when I was in high school, my parents were doing some work with the Modern Mystery School. I think is it a school in Seattle?
Yeah, they have a satellite school. Yeah.
Yeah, so they were connected with a lady that did, I guess, work there. And so Olivia does work with the same school, and I just thought that was a coincidence. And I started doing some work and kind of going into the same classes that I had done before, which I think this time I came in with a different perspective, and it's honestly had such an incredible just value in my life. I still use those tools that you've given me today and those rituals every single day. And I'm gonna stop talking and let you talk now. And you can maybe talk about what it is that you do and how you got connected to the school.
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty magical how we find this work. Like, I'll never forget when you came into my space and there was all these little signs and little breadcrumbs the whole way, just like saying how aligned and perfect that meeting was. And I don't know if we can truly plan these things. I think they definitely come from a higher plane.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a lot like my journey. Especially looking back, you can see how all the pieces line up. Sometimes you don't always see it. But I found this work about 6 years ago, and I would say I've been spiritual or connected for a lot of my life, but I didn't always understand it. You know, like, I had feelings, I was very sensitive, very emotional, very pulled by things that were happening in my life. And I really relied, especially in my teen years, on what I would call signs. And now I would look at it more as, you know, my guides kind of guiding me. But I very much relied on them, and a lot of people didn't really understand. They're like, oh, Olivia and her signs, until they were around me long enough to notice that whatever I was following was lining things up in a way that my logical mind could never make sense of. So I went through a really hard time about 7 years ago and was dealing with a lot of mental illness and transition points in my life. And that's actually when I came across the school. And of course, it found me in the most magical way, because somehow it just presents itself when we're ready. And I came across it online, but I was seeking. I was definitely seeking. I was already taking workshops. I was doing meditation at the local temple. I was reading a lot of books, really into my tarot cards, watching spirit science on YouTube. Like, I was really starting to dabble. And I was just, that seemed to be, through my mental illness, the only thing that brought me a sense of calm. The only thing that brought me a sense of connectedness and like, okay, I'm going to be okay. But eventually I just hit a point where just being okay wasn't enough anymore. And I was like, no, like, I think I need to take this further, because right now spirituality and this connection, whatever universal or divine connection I'm building, I think I'm supposed to do more with it. And I was a hairstylist, you know, just how we met, through hairstyling. And I was super successful. I worked in some amazing salons, did amazing like editorial work. And I was fulfilled and passionate about what I was doing. But I say fulfilled with like a bit of a question at the end, because at the end of the day, it still didn't feel like what I came here to do and create. Like when I looked at the world, I realized like I have this connection and I feel like I need to help. And I feel like I need to help in a deeper way. Like I'm suffering, people I know are suffering. Like, how can I help alleviate this? And that's when I really started seeking. And as soon as I did start seeking, taking it to the next level, I came across the mystery school. And it was kind of like everything I wanted. And I was seeking for spirituality because I really wanted, like, I was really seeking truth and depth, and like to understand the inner workings of myself, the inner workings of the world, of the universe. And I wanted to understand it so I could work with it. And up until that point, I just thought I would be traveling around the world, going to different teachers forever, and just kind of compiling different belief systems, different paths. And I would just kind of amalgamate everything together over like a lifetime. Mm-hmm. And when I found the mystery school, I remember like my heart palpitating, because I was like looking through all their offerings, and it was all the areas I had the most interest in my self-study, like astral travel, sacred geometry, metaphysics. Yeah. And it was like, oh my gosh, like I thought I would just like have Buddhism or take classes with a crystal shop, but you're telling me there's a school I can study the self and metaphysics, and all my greatest interests are here. So yeah, I kind of dove right in, and it's been over 6 years and I haven't looked back.
Amazing. And then as of well, you do a lot of work, so you do a lot of different classes.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about what kind of classes you offer and things?
Yeah, I can talk about what I offer, but even just the work that I do as a guide, because there's classes and there's healing, but the core of all of it is knowing thyself.
Yes.
And when I was talking about, you know, like I wanted to understand myself, the inner workings of myself, the inner workings of the universe, and how this invisible language that pretty much dictates our world operates. And I would kind of say that that's like a lot of the work that I focus on, and a lot of the work and training and teachings and tools I do are to give people access to this this spark within, this aspect of who they really are, and how they can use that to create a life they want. Because there's a lot of things that we have in this world that have formed who we think we are. And I think so much of our work begins when we start peeling away all those layers.
100%.
Right? And so there's activations and tools that allow kind of pieces within our structure to turn back on, our potential to turn back on, and teachings and classes to help you, you know, anchor that in your life so that you can live more in alignment with who you are, and more in alignment with what you came here to do.
Yeah, and I can speak for, like, I did Empower Thyself twice when I was younger, and doing it again with you. And like I had these tools and I had heard all these things, but I feel like this second time, just because like I guess I've grown and my perspective's at a different place. I'm a different human now than I was when I was a teenager and stuff. And how I committed, like when you gave us the little form to do every single day, our rituals and everything, and just like really digging deep and having those tools to be able to connect with your guides, like the sanctuary meditation, which I want to talk about a little bit as well. Like all those things honestly have helped me so much. And especially in a time like this where like people are locked down, we're kind of forced to look within, which is, I think, honestly beautiful, because I think it's work that everybody should have been doing to begin with, and we need it.
Yep.
So yeah.
And that's exactly it. This past year, 2020, no matter how we want to look at it, no matter the struggles we faced, I called it like the year of the microscope, because like everything in our lives was amplified, the beauty and the good, but also maybe the things that like weren't actually in alignment. Yeah. And every single human on the planet, like, I don't know if we've ever had a circumstance where every human on the planet has been in this like quarantine-esque similar situation. And it really has given us the opportunity to not only self-reflect, but to go within. But I think now we're realizing that the tool, like having tools and having ways to navigate our inner world and our mind is like incredibly important.
So important.
Because I know, in Empower Thyself, like you talked about, like there's a lot of amazing sacred teachings and practices that get passed down. And one of the big pieces is the rituals. And I found that a lot of people that I've worked with were able to create a really stable foundation for themselves through the changing times. But it doesn't mean that through these times we all haven't been able to cultivate tools. Yeah. It's just how deep do we want to take that practice moving out of this quarantine and lockdown? We have these vaccines coming. There's this like change happening that's like, okay, maybe we're not going to be in this forever. So we really have to ask ourselves the questions like, how do we want to leave here? Because I think what I perceived and what I noticed is a lot of people stepped forward, and I was working with a lot of people after the first quarantine, recognizing like, I need tools. When all of our comforts and distractions were stripped away, what was left? And then I think people realized like the what was left part, it's so important to take care of that. Like, just like you realized taking care of your fitness and your health, it like you have your vehicle, you got to take care of it. Well, we have our spirit, we have our soul. And if that's not fulfilled and engaged in our life, then we need to make that a priority too, because all the distractions, it's like not really filling us. It's distracting us. Mm-hmm. So I found a lot of people were seeking tools, but then as soon as the summer came and like the rains let up a bit, old habits came back, and like we got back into like our old structures, just like grasping for any bit of normalcy or like our old life. And I really like to pose the question to people I'm working with right now is like, do we really want to bring our old life back, or do we want to be completely new, creating something completely new moving forward? And like, what kind of commitment is that going to take of the self?
Mm-hmm. And I really feel like I was talking to some of my girls about this earlier. Like, we're going through such a transitional, I feel like almost going into another dimension, because a lot more people are becoming open to this. And I know, like, as an empath myself, like I always had to, like working at the airport, for example, some of the tools that you taught me, like I would literally go into the bathroom and do them, like the protection prayer and like all those things, just because if we're not doing the work ourselves too, and like you're already living in a life where you're like that, where you're sensitive to other people, you kind of start to take on people's energies. And especially when you're doing energy work, like when I was doing just like lashes and waxing and having people coming into my home all the time, like you have to protect yourself, your space.
Yep. Yeah. And that's a really real thing too, right? Like we recognize that taking care of our physical health is really important, and there's a million ways we can do that. Past 20, 30 years, we've recognized that mental health and the care for our mental health is a thing. I think we're going to be moving now into this space of recognizing our spiritual health and recognizing that, yeah, like look at how many of us can relate to, I'm an empath, I'm sensitive. If I go to the airport and there's a lot of people who are stressed, I pick that up. If I'm at a mall on Boxing Day when things are crazy, I pick that up. I get a headache, I can feel it. Or perhaps I'm having a really good day and I walk by someone and all of a sudden I'm like angry, and I know that it's not me because there's nothing I can associate it to in my life.
Yeah.
Our whole world and universe is different levels of vibration and energy. And when I said like I wanted to understand that's what I was speaking of. Like there is so much beyond what the eye can see. Truthfully, I think we don't even see 1% of the light spectrum. So it's like if we're basing our reality off of the 1% that we can see, well, what are we missing that's contributing to the quality of our lives? Because if we're missing it, it's like if we didn't know about health and we ate McDonald's every day and wondered why we felt horrible, it was like we'd be a victim to the fact that we didn't realize if we changed our eating, we could potentially change how we feel. And that's same with recognizing our energy and understanding this flow and communication with the universe and with ourselves, because there are like universal energies, there's other people's energies, there's ours. And we need to learn how to protect, but also strengthen, purify, clear, so we can walk through the world not feeling tired from eating McDonald's every day, but feeling energized and connected and strong, so we can be the light and not let other people's stuff kind of penetrate and weigh us down.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what you guys did with you and Laura with Hindsight, which I want to get into a little bit, talks about that, because we got to, like, being somebody that was in the course, we really got to reflect on how 2020 was and how we now want to shift our energy and how we want to go into 2021, which I guess you guys are doing something on Sunday about that. So I'm really excited to hear about that. And I know you're doing the sanctuary meditation and that too, so you can talk a little bit about that. I can just listen to you. I just like to
talk. I can talk. Yeah. So Laura and I developed Hindsight 2020. It was an 11-day program that we decided to do over the holiday season because it was going to be so different for people. And we really wanted to think of what are ways that, you know, we can support people in like changing times. And as much as it was a crazy year, there was a lot of room for growth and for reflection and for learning. Like, I think all of us can recognize to some degree or another that challenges and struggles and hard times can bring about, you know, the strongest sailors. So if we can see from that perspective, what can we create with this coming year? So our whole program was about letting us get those different perspectives on all aspects of our lives, from how we care for ourselves, the quality of our relationships, and forgiveness, and all sorts of things. And it was really special to be able to create something like that in the online space, because truthfully, a lot of the work I do as a guide within the mystery school lineage really does need to be handed down and done in person. There is a big energetic aspect to that. So the healings and the workshops are in person. So to be able to cultivate and create a community of healing and self-reflection online was really special. And because it was really successful and people had a lot, we then sat down and was like, how can we help support people further with the new year, with their new vision? So that's where we came up with Foresight. So Hindsight is all about reflection. Foresight is about looking into the future and building. And right now, I think a lot of us are like, you know, New Year's is a time for setting goals, thinking about what we want to build, what we want to shift. And a lot of people will do like vision boards. So we are going to be doing vision boards in the workshop, but taking it to a bit of a deeper level. We're going to be working with the principles of feng shui, but also weaving in some principles around hermetics and spirituality to help us anchor our vision in a really clear way. So that's going to be really cool, but we have a couple other things that are weaved in there as well. So we'll be doing, you know, Kundalini yoga to open up our physical body. And then to open up to the spiritual and to our higher self is where we'll weave in the sanctuary meditation, which Marisa has been sprinkling out through this conversation already. That is one of the tools that as a guide I can teach on. It is an amazing tool, and it is, you know, it is a workshop and it is a meditation technique that I lean on every single day of my life. That connection with my higher self, that connection with that inner guidance and compass, when you begin to build that, sometimes we're always looking for advice and guidance, and we're kind of just like yelling out into the ethers, hoping that we're going to get it or get a sign, right? At least I know that's how I was. Or we go to every single friend asking for advice. But the reality is, your greatest advisor and ally and guide is within you. You know how, like, they always say, you have all the answers within. It's just learning how to access them.
Yes.
So this is one tool that helps you access guidance, answers, clarity, and connection. And it's a sacred shamanic technique, so it's thousands of years old. And there's a very significant and purposeful process that's followed to get to that state of consciousness to connect to an your higher self. So we work with the chakras, we work with sacred geometry, and we reach essentially a state and a space where we can begin to build a relationship with our higher self. And usually that class, it's a 3-hour workshop I've been doing online lately, but we're actually going to be weaving it into Sunday's workshop. But it comes up, I offer that like once a month. But for the sake of foresight, we have it so that when we're building a vision for our life and for what we want to create, it's really coming from that higher place. You know, like we create in our lives, and I think a lot of people are shifting out of this now, but a lot of us are creating from fear. And like sometimes we don't even recognize where the fear is coming from, but it's just this incessant state of survival. Just trying to get through the day, just trying to make ends meet, just trying to survive. So all of our choices, all of the things we create are coming from that place.
Fear, yeah.
But that's not where the magic exists. And the reality is every single one of you is incredibly capable of creating anything you desire. It's just, how do you remove the blocks and remove the layers and remove the things that have been holding you back from it?
Yeah.
So, you know, connecting with the higher self, of course, it's one tool. It takes a lot to start removing those layers truthfully. But it's one of those tools that starts building and bridging a connection.
For sure. And I know you guys, both you and Laura, spoke a lot about that in hindsight. And I think that was the biggest thing that I got out of it, is learning to release, because I believe in manifestation. I believe in the law of attraction and the power of your thoughts. And like I told you, I was having a hard time writing the negatives, even though I say it, like we have it in our minds all the time. And that's something that, like, a muscle that we need to form to start thinking differently, to get rid of those limiting beliefs and get into a place of abundance and gratitude and just like that kind of, and like I've been working a lot on that. But I think the hardest thing for me, and what I worked on a lot at the end of December till now, and using some of the tools and stuff that you guys taught on hindsight, is that. And I think that that's so many people, like, that's the hard part, is releasing those limiting beliefs. Like I have a whole workbook I'm working on to work on that, but I was not realizing how much I still had to also release. And I've been doing my own workbook for that reason. But yeah, releasing in order to bring in the new for the new year. And I think that's amazing that you guys put foresight together and that you're offering that. And like, yeah. I wanted to, oh yeah, and then the sanctuary meditation. So where can people find you? First of all, where can people find you if they were interested in foresight, to sign up?
So foresight, the website's actually on my link in my bio on my Instagram if you follow here. Actually, I have my website being launched in the next couple weeks. It's a little bit backtracked, but it will be coming out and that will have everything there. But usually my Instagram usually has all the access to booking consultations, seeing what online workshops I'm running, because right now in quarantine, that's what we're working with.
Yes.
So that's the best way, or you can just reach out to me through DM and we can kind of move through there. But so good. But it's an exciting time for us in human history right now. It's an exciting time. And like you said, it feels like we're shifting into another dimension. And it's true, like we are shifting consciousness. And this year, how it's prophesized and what it is to be is the potential turning point of humanity to a higher state of being, to a world of more peace, a world of more connection and less separation, more possibility. And so it's like that is dependent upon us. That's dependent upon humans. Like, what are we going to do? And ultimately, it depends on like what we choose to do in our own lives. Like, are we living in that fear, or are we choosing to take the leaps and get to know thyself? Are we doing the deeper healing so we can show up better for our family, for our friends, for our community? Like, are we shifting from the limitations that we've been living with into possibility?
I love this. Beck says, a world of more humanity, not just humans. Yep.
Yes. And humans remembering who they are, because there is a divinity within us, and there is a sacredness and a power within us that we have long forgotten, that has totally been swiped under the rug. And this power and this essence of who we really are, like when we tap into that, it's incredible who we can be and how we can show up. And that's, I think, the thing that's going to change the world is the transformation of the individual.
Yes. And then you speak about that in Empower Thyself, right? Where like it almost feels, and it honestly really does, it almost feels like we were born with amnesia and we're here to remember all of the tools and how powerful we are individually.
Yeah, because we do forget. I made a post earlier in the year, and I did like a recap of some of the stories I've done throughout the year, and one of them was the word human in Egyptian is rooted from the same word to forget. And I think that is a bit of human in us, is we forget. Like, do you remember what you ate on Wednesday last week?
Nah.
Do you remember what you did 3 weeks ago at 3 p.m. on Friday? So how do you expect to remember the deepest parts of who you are when we're just going through day by day? That takes active building. That takes, what's the word I'm looking for? Commitment. Because when we're in a world that's constantly keeping us distracted, pretty much like forget, stay busy, stay full. It's like, if we can't remember what we did last week, how are we going to remember, who we were before we were born, who we were in the essence of what we are and what we came to do?
Yeah.
But in that is a lot of excitement, because it means if you do remember, and if you do take the task on of connecting, you are always supported. And that's something I like to tell people too, because it's like, healing seems like a lot of work, or self-work, it never ends. And that's kind of the truth. Like, you hit another layer and another layer and another layer.
Just keep leveling up.
But you keep leveling up with every layer. Yeah. And with every time you level up, more magic is revealed, more light, more potential, more hope. And I think that's what we're seeking. We don't want to be stuck in the density of life, just getting by. It's like, what's possible for you?
Yeah. And I found it interesting. So this morning, I always do card pulls in the morning to kind of like set the intentions for my day, and do like during my rituals and stuff. But actually, like today, I got Lost Land from this beautiful new deck that I received, and it talks about that. And like literally, the quote that like you're supposed to say afterwards was, "I unlock any forgotten wisdom and soul gifts from lifetimes past." And I thought that that was, especially with the word wisdom in there, so like, boom, like considering we're doing Wisdom Wednesday right now, like I had to share that. But like, I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but it talks about that. It talks about how we have all this wisdom. We just have to remember.
Yeah. And that's, you know, the path of remembering. And it's the path of the initiator, the path that the mystery school offers too, is like, I have been blessed to come up and create these amazing programs to support people online. And it has been incredible. But I will be honest in saying, like, with the mystery school path, the depth of what's available, it's not something I've come up with. It is something that's existed for thousands of years for us to remember. Like thousands of years this work has existed. This remembering, and really right now we're at the pinnacle of it all. Like, I did a forecast over the weekend with one of my teachers, Dr. Teresa Bullard, and she was talking about this is the year that humans are going to start seeking the mysteries, seeking their inner wisdom, like seeking the deeper pieces, because we're all asking more questions. How can I help? What is the point of this? What am I here to do? Because when the whole world has been in this great pause, we start asking.
Yeah, and looking for other opportunities and other ways of doing things. So it's like a new world for real.
A new world for real.
Yeah.
But it's not think of birthing. I don't know, I'm not a mother, but think of birth. It's a process, and it can be painful, but a lot of beauty comes from it. And so anytime we're in this transformation and this birthing of a new life in a new world, there is going to be pain and discomfort. There is, and it will feel hard.
And I honestly think that happened to me. Like when I became a mom almost a year ago, she's almost a year old now. Like I've had these tools and whatever, and I've grown a lot, but like I feel like because when you're pregnant and you know you're gonna have to push a baby out of you, like it's not like, and the thought of it is scary, is nerve-wracking. I was having a lot of anxiety at the beginning of my pregnancy. Like I had a couple panic attacks that scared Ash a little bit because he'd never seen what that even was before, knew that it existed. But when I started to connect with like hypnobirthing and like getting my meditations in every single night and remembering I have all these freaking tools, and every time I get into a state of like doing my rituals every single day, there's no more of this anxiety because I feel more in alignment, I feel more at ease, and just feeling the fear and doing it anyways, which has been like a huge thing. I gave birth. I had a beautiful birth story. Obviously not going to get into that out here, but like that shift into becoming a mom this past year and like going through postpartum depression, I didn't want to go taking pills and everything. So I started moving my body again, and I got involved with Beachbody and becoming a coach. And from that, I started to do the inner work, and it's just been transformation after transformation, and things just like revealing themselves, and like visions coming. Like the workbook that I'm making, I literally was doing yoga and I'm like, hey, I should do this. And like the year before, I remember Ash being like, what is it that you want to do? Like, what are you passionate about? And like this year being on mat leave and at home with Brianna, it's really made me dig into what I want to do in that sense. And the only thing I've been ever passionate about is helping women, empower women. Not to say there's anything wrong with men, obviously men too. Like every human on this planet has the ability to live life on their terms and create that for themselves. So why not be a light in helping share that with the world, which is what you do and in your different tools and everything. So I think we need more of this on earth.
I would definitely agree. What could it look like if all of us committed to serving each other?
Exactly. Yeah. So I feel the shifts, and we're going to continue because we are all a work in progress. We're all going to keep learning on this planet Earth, and that's what it is, right? It's school.
Indeed.
Earth is school.
It is literally school. It is our training ground. This
Exactly.
is where we came to learn, to experience, to remember.
Yes. I guess we're getting to the 30-something mark. I did want to share, though, like Olivia and I are wanting to put a sanctuary meditation together probably next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, mid-January. So if anybody is interested in hopping on, it's a 3-hour workshop that Olivia does. We talked about before. Just shoot her or I guess, a message, and we'll organize that.
Yeah. We'll have some things to post as well about it if you are interested.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we covered a lot.
Yeah.
But I just want to say thank you for being my person and my guide and being my first person to go live with me.
Thank you, Marisa. Thanks for having me. And I hope everyone enjoyed the watch and were able to get something from it.
Okay. Bye. Love you.
You're amazing, sister. Love you too. Bye.